All right. So before the break, we mentioned that that this should be a draft that Lions fans love. There were 2 tweets over the weekend, both from Daniel Jeremiah. Now, Daniel Jeremiah worked in front offices with NFL teams. Now he works for the NFL Network. None of these guys in the draft world are – it's a guessing game, okay? But it's a guessing game with knowledge behind it. But NFL teams aren't sure how to draft. You've never seen busts, and there's always busts, and there's always bad picks made. It's an incredibly hard thing to do. Of those that try to project players to the next level, I think Daniel Jeremiah is one of the best. It's my personal opinion. I think he is absolutely one of the best. And he had 2 tweets over the weekend that I think Lions fans should find very encouraging. One, he tweeted, there are a lot of day 2 starting cornerbacks in this draft. Do the Lions have a need at corner? Well, they might. Mm-hmm. They might for a variety of reasons, health of some of the guys they've taken, and then maybe just performance of some of the guys that they have taken and signed. But do they have such a need at corner that I would see them using a high draft pick on a corner? Probably not. So it makes it a good draft for this to be a fact. Day 2 draft picks available at corner. Now, the Lions only have the 1 day 2 draft pick as it stands right now. That's a second-round pick. They do not have a third-round pick, but they could trade back into the third round, as Brad Holmes has been known to do. And then maybe some of those day 2 guys drop into the third round. You never know. But I think that's a good thing. And then he also added this. If you need an edge rusher, this is a good draft to double up. The depth of the class is impressive. I've got 10 guys worthy of a spot in the top 50 players. There's another layer of traitsy players beyond that group. Traitsy. Obviously, I would assume that means they have players that meet certain traits.
They have length.
Yeah. Okay. Deep draft for edge rushers. Our guy here in Detroit has done a pretty good job with the draft. He's not perfect. Nobody is. But, Scott, I mean, those 2 things alone maybe make it easier to say offensive tackle early or offensive lineman early, and then be able to put off other needs till later in the draft based upon these 2 Daniel Jeremiah tweets.
Except that's not how Brad Holmes
Well, that was a whole nother. Let me stop you there because that's the next question. But right now, you got to like that if you are sitting there at Allen Park. At the end of the day, does Brad Holmes change the way he does anything? Does Brad Holmes say, okay, I'm going to make a little bit alteration to our draft strategy? Or does the board fall in such a way that Brad Holmes won't have to change anything? The best player available very well could be an edge rusher in round 2. If the board is, if Jeremiah is right. And look, I don't think he's blindly throwing darts at a dartboard.
No, I don't think he is either. I think that you're going to see typically what happens in the league is in the draft, you'll see a run on certain position groups. Mm-hmm. And I think we could see several different runs at different times. There could be a run on offensive linemen, a run on edge rushers, a run on defensive backs. It just seems like that's something that can happen. We've seen in the past, certainly a run on wide receivers. A run on wide receivers would benefit the Lions greatly to see who slips and who falls. But there's a lot of players I think that we're going to be interested in getting closer and closer to the draft, and certainly when the combine comes around and workouts and whatnot, and see who's been interviewed by whom. But the offensive tackle position is really intriguing to me because I think there's a lot of good offensive tackles available. It could be, I'm just looking at Mel Kiper's rankings there, and the guy I really like is number 5. It's the tackle from Arizona State, Max Ananker, or whatever his name is. Mm-hmm. But Big Max is good. He's really good. And I've seen him all over the place, either in the first round or in the second round. Let alone the 2 tackles that are from Utah. And, in Mel's rating, he's got the tackle from Arizona State that I just mentioned ahead of Caden Proctor from Alabama. There's the tackle from Northwestern, Caleb Tiernan, who's also pretty good. I just think that there's a lot of depth there. So in addition to what Jeremiah is saying about the depth at the edge rusher position, I think that you can just look at both of those positions and say, which player do we have rated higher? Is it the edge rusher or is it the tackle? And it doesn't matter. Just take whoever that is.
I will say this, and I don't like dwell on the mistakes because I think it's ridiculous to expect your general manager not to make mistakes. This is where the trade that they made to get Isaac Tesla last year could really hurt. Because they had 2 third-round picks in this draft. And they moved up to get Tesla. I think Tesla has shown great promise. And what we'll never know is, would he have been there at 102 when they drafted? They moved up to 70 to take him. And dwelling on this doesn't do any good, and it also isn't particularly productive sports talk, because if your guy's getting it way more right than wrong, talking about his mistakes, but they had 2 third-round picks in this draft. And given the way the depth of this draft is lining up, those 2 third-round picks could really, really be super helpful. Now, the career arc of what follows with Tesla is going to be interesting to see. I like him as a player. I think he's got a real chance to be special in this league. But this is, this is part of the risk when you move around on draft day. You don't think much about those future picks. Obviously, some people do. But 2 third-rounders in this draft?
I know. Would
have been really good.
Yeah. And I think we all went, huh? Except for Kang. When they took Tesla, we all kind of went.
You knew it was coming.
It's a lot of movement to go up and take a player that doesn't have a ton of experience.
Yep. But 248-539-9797, phone calls and feedback. You want to keep talking a little NFL draft. Deep draft for corners, deep draft for edge rushers. Is anybody standing out? Does it change your strategy? Do you think Brad Holmes will change his strategy? That's another part of this. Is Gator brought it up, and it's one of the big things. I'll tell you why I think he will, okay, and why he should. And we will get to that today at 12:20 on Karsch and Anderson, 97.1.